Oh, like the,
Yeah, yeah,
like we're rolling clap.
yeah.
All right, three, two, one. Hey, my name is Travis Jolly. I live in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I just won Trans North Georgia Adventure. Also happened to win it on my single speed, and I got a single speed fastest known time out of it. So this is my specialized Epic 8 Expert. It came with SRAM GX transmission, but since I'm a weird single speeder, I decided to experiment with the Wheels Manufacturing XD conversion kit and a roll-off chain tensioner. Since the race, I have switched the gear ratio and the tires. I accidentally killed one of my tires when I got home and rode on the trails, so I swapped them over. Yeah, the bike is awesome. It has 120 mils of travel in the front and the rear. It has my favorite feature. Everyone thinks my setup is super crazy lightweight, which I guess it is, but I have 2 tubes stored inside of the down tube, my pump, a tire lever. I had a rag with chain loop, chain links, spoke wrench, chain breaker, all sorts of things in there that really saved me from requiring a bigger bag on the outside of the bike. I'll just go ahead and start from the front. This front bag contained my water filter. I had a whole baggie full of wet wipes. I had a little toothbrush with toothpaste, and I think I had some Tylenol in there. On the cockpit here, I wrapped some bar tape on the inside of the handlebars so that I could rest my forearms on there just to be in a different position or get more aerodynamic on like the gravel descents. I put some SQ Labs bar ends on the outside. You know, being on the single speed, you want that extra leverage and hand positioning when you're climbing. I decided to put my spot tracker, or my Garmin InReach tracking device, just strapped to the fork. I didn't know where else to put it. I moved it around, but ultimately that was my favorite spot. Up here I have my outbound light, mountain bike light. It worked really well. It got too wet on the first day though, and it started to like turn itself on before it got dark. I was really worried that it was gonna not work for the rest of the race, but once it dried up, it worked just fine. And I had a backup outbound light in my bag here with electronics. I'll get to that in a sec. Up here, I just bought the new Coros Dura GPS that they make. The thing lasts forever. The battery life is impeccable. I had the route uploaded and was following it the entire time. There was a backlight on. When I finished the race or the ride, I only had about 30% battery left. So that was pretty awesome. On the side here, I had my Restrap feed bags. This was my main compartment for food. On the outside of these bags, there were these mesh pockets where I'd put trash. I would store my gloves there, just random things that I needed to store for quick access. Next, on the top tube, we have the Restrap bags, race top tube bag, featuring more exterior pockets, which I would keep my headphones on one side and my gloves on the other side. And in here I would keep my phone, my wallet, other snacks and food items. It features 2 zippers, so you can get to the bottom part of the bag, which is really nice. Down here in the bottom part of the bag, I brought 20 element packs with me. By the end of the race, I consumed 15 of the 20 element packs, so I had about 15,000 milligrams of sodium, which I did not cramp once. I even would take shots of the element packs at nighttime just to kind of keep me awake because of the jolt of sodium. Just felt good. I only carried 2 water bottles. I had a slightly larger water bottle up here. I figured with a water filter and being in the southeast, I would have plenty of access to water, which I did. Even on the Snake, it's known as the drier section of the course. I found plenty of creeks to filter water from, so I was fine there. This bag right here contained, it's a top tube bag that's supposed to be up here, but it works really well down there as a as like a jerry can bag. In here I had all of my electronics. I had an external battery, I had my backup light, I had a backup Garmin GPS computer, and I had a fast charger that had 2 charge ports on it. And I did use every piece of gear in there. I charged my things before it died. I made sure before the race to write out like a charging schedule so that whenever I stopped, I wasn't caught in a time trap charging everything all at once. And in the rear here, I kept what I call my oh shit clothes. I had 3 pairs of socks. I picked up another pair of socks at Mulberry Gap. I had my windbreaker. Wasn't totally waterproof, but it was enough to create a dry loft around my torso area even while it was raining. My arms were wet, but it was warm enough. I didn't really care. And I also had I actually had an emergency blanket that was here, but by the end of the race, I used it to lay on the ground on the snake. And then I stuffed it in this rear bag because it was impossible to fold up as small as it was before. Yeah, so my proudest strategy of the entire race, honestly, was my underwear and sock tactic. So I've been wearing these Smart Wool, like active underwear. They're tight, you know, they feel good. They feel like a cycling specific underwear. The merino wool is awesome because it's even comfortable when it's wet. It doesn't chafe, it dries quickly. It's not warm like in the summer. If it is cool, it keeps you warm. So that was awesome. I had 2 pairs of underwear, 3 pairs of thin merino wool socks, only merino wool. And then I picked up a 4th pair at Mulberry Gap. So that worked out perfectly. I swapped out everything throughout the race. So I went through 2 pairs of underwear and 4 pairs of socks. I went through 3 pairs of the underwear on the first day after that 4 hours of rain. It rained for a couple hours at the end of the first day, and everyone had to dry out their stuff. So I sat there with soggy feet, let my feet dry enough, and then put some fresh pair of socks on. And that just was awesome. It felt like a whole new day after that. So that worked out really well. I noticed a lot of people scratched because of their clothing situation and the rain and all the grit getting in their chamois. So yeah, I think a combination of the merino wool underwear and being on a single speed climbing all the time you're out of the saddle really saved the butt a lot with chafing. I didn't really feel like I had to take everything off when I finished. It was awesome. And my gearing for the race was 34 by 20, and my tires were Vittoria Sierra 2.4s. I have since swapped the tires. They are great tires. I loved every part of the tire. Just when I got home, I rode a trail and just so happened to get a slash in the wrong spot and killed the rear tire. And I had these laying around, so I decided to put them on before my next race. And I also swapped my gear for the next race coming up, doing Shenandoah 100 on Sunday. And it's a little steep, a lot of climbing, so figured I'd put a slightly easier gearing on there, which is funny because it's a 100-mile race instead of a 360-mile race. But the 3420 gearing worked out really well for the Trans North Georgia. I found myself climbing just fine on the steeper bits. I think having a lighter weight bike helped. The bike weighed about 36 pounds or so. I weighed it beforehand. That even included water, so it was a pretty lightweight rig. But yeah, the 3420 was great. I was able to pedal at about 15 miles per hour between Dennis Mill and Dalton. You know, I could pedal a little bit here and there, more than I usually would on a single speed, so that was awesome. And the bike, man, handled perfectly, even like, yeah, through the roughest sections. I just had total confidence in the bike. Oh, my rear brake did end up stopping. It did not work at the end. I must have hit a tree. I did hit a tree, but I think that's about when it stopped working. That, with a combination of worn out brake pads I discovered, led to having zero brake function in the rear. So the front brake was put to work for the last 100 miles or so through the Snake and the rail to trail. But yeah, all in all, it worked really well. The dropper post was nice. I would drop the post down and hang out in the middle of the bars and just get real aero and tucked on the descents. I was surprised that the bar ends didn't hook up onto any branches or anything. My arms took all the beating, unfortunately. But yeah, it was a great ride. I wouldn't change a single thing about it. Worked out perfectly. That's all I have to say about the bike.